everybody. Welcome to another Age of Grogu, and I've got with me Elijah and Max today. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, so what's everyone's week been up to?
I catched up on a lot of stuff that I missed. I watched The Flash.
Oh yeah,
I saw that in the theater,
okay.
and it was. I'm sure you guys talked about it last week, right?
Yeah, but we want to
Yeah,
get your
what'd you think,
opinion.
though?
Yeah, what do you think?
It was kind of, I definitely went to go see Michael Keaton as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
That was like
Yep.
number one on the top of
Yep.
my list. Two, I knew that they were going to throw in a bunch of other DC stuff. Like I kind of knew that was coming, but I didn't know how that was going to play out. So I wanted to
Right.
see that.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care about the whole story with the Flash. I don't care about Ezra
Yeah.
Miller or any of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff.
Yeah.
But the story was surprisingly, at least watchable. Like
Yeah.
the DC movies, just like I don't care about any of this stuff. It's
Yeah.
like at least it kept me going through the story. Like it wasn't amazing, but at least it kept me like
Yeah.
going, waiting for the next thing to happen.
Right.
Some of the effects were really bad. CG was really bad to the
Yeah.
point of like, wait a minute, what's happening? It's
Yeah.
like,
No,
when, when
totally.
it's just cropped his face like onto the body double, whoever was sitting there, face
Yeah.
it just 1 second it looks good, 1 second it looks bad.
Yeah.
It was very like, wait a minute, a shot ago that looked weird, and now it looks fine because I guess I'm like, oh, that was the stand-in, and then this is the real actor, and then
Right.
like, things like I'm having to think in my head while seeing some of that
Yeah.
stuff. But I like Michael Keaton. The
Yeah.
stuff with Supergirl was better than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Like that was
I agree there.
pretty decent. Like her character and everything was good.
Yeah.
Bringing back Zod made sense. Like,
I mean, he didn't have a
seeing
lot to
Superman
do.
fight a giant spider in the third act was
Yeah. I
was-
was
I
waiting for
guess
you to mention that.
we're far
was
enough.
definitely
Well, hang on.
a high
We're
flex.
far enough on that this is played out that we can kind of talk spoilers now. So if you haven't seen it, we are going to talk some spoilers a little bit. But
Too late.
The movie's real. It's from the
that
streets. It's out.
that version of Superman, which was Nicolas Cage's,
Right.
the unused version,
Never made.
Yeah, I think he went to screen
Kevin Smith
tests.
version.
The Kevin Smith version.
Yeah.
It seemed just weird and a little out of place. It was kind of a fun thing to see, but it was just so.
They did that.
out of
Yeah,
place.
obviously they threw that in. Like
Yeah.
only
Mhm.
people in the know would know that's happening.
Right.
Even the Eric Stoltz joke.
Yeah.
I would say
That one took me a second.
a high percentage of people didn't know what that joke was. It's like
Yeah.
they didn't get it right away. I'm
Right.
like in
Yeah. No. I got it immediately. But
I got a little
but-
chuckle, but I'm like, that's like being
Mhm.
almost too underground, where like the
Yeah.
normies aren't gonna get the reference. It's like
Yes. Yeah.
you can do that, but it had to be something that like everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
People still don't know that, and like I've been, especially because people don't even know who Eric Stoltz is.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Which
saying?
is the
Like,
joke.
like
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Who's Eric
Yeah.
Stoltz? They don't.
Yeah.
They don't know that he's a
Yeah, you're right.
current working actor, or even the roles that he is famous for. People usually
Yeah.
don't know Eric Stoltz like it would
Right.
be if it was like Brad Pitt or whatever, something,
Correct.
another name.
Yeah.
Whatever. So
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of, they put that in there, obviously, as
Hey,
a
Malay.
time travel thing, but it wasn't like,
Hey, Anchorman.
it just didn't, I don't know. Some things played, some other things didn't. CG was really bad.
Yeah.
On purpose, though, right? That's what the director said.
I don't know if on purpose, like it's weird that it like even over this time that they had that they pushed it, like they couldn't have made that. They could have rendered that a couple times. They could have gone through it a couple more times to make sure it played, because it did take me out anytime I saw
Oh, totally. Yeah.
it really bad. I'm like,
in the
what?
Flash in the
Speed Force. Yeah, Speed Force is especially bad.
Speed Force is really, really bad. Yeah, that was really bad. And then just some of when they're comping over, I'm assuming a body double's face, so it's just like just his mouth or whatever, or just his jawline. That was really bad.
Yeah.
And the whole intersection of you're freezing the timeline when he's stuck in the timeline.
Yeah.
Some of that just was like,
yeah,
looked really bad.
Yeah.
But it was as cheesy as it was at the end. it was cool to see all the DC or a lot of the DC movies represented, and even see George Reeves Superman and
Right.
That's the only one I didn't like, just because of how his life ended.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean that one made me a little sad because he kind of was very depressed his later years for only being able to play Superman. He thought that defined his life, and then even in death, DC and Warner Brothers is like,
sure
it defines you.
Right. Yeah.
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 I mean, and they could have whatever. They could have done, Max Fleischer.
Apparently, they cut Linda Carter.
Oh, Linda Carter.
Which is
apparently she was cut. Which that one bummed me out. I feel like she would have.
I'm sure they had like a cut where they had like almost every DC thing up to this point. Like that would have made more sense. Like he gets to a thing and it's just like every DC property.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
even if it was like video clips, even if it was just like clips from the movie.
Yeah,
that would have been fine for me.
Even the recent Titans show did that well, where Beast Boy goes into the red and he sees through the multiverse, and he sees all the different versions of himself without the multiverse. And he sees the different animated versions of himself, and you have Grant Morrison narrating it, and it was a pretty cool moment that they did.
Right. I haven't actually had the chance to watch any of Black Mirror yet of season 6. Have you guys watched any of that yet? Or?
No, I only watched Black Mirror.
I haven't watched that, but I did watch all of The Bear. And like,
I haven't finished season 2 yet.
I watched all of it. Like I was like, just keep going.
Yeah, I did watch Gremlins. Sorry.
Back to the Flash. Back to the Flash.
Yep.
It was. Well, we could talk. We'll bring all this stuff up in a second.
Sure.
But whatever. It was a movie. It was a movie. It was decent. Like, I didn't love it. Like, I'm sure I have no desire to kind of watch it again. But I wanted.
I don't either.
I wanted to see. I wanted to see Michael Keaton as Batman again, and I just wanted to know, like, in general, how they're like, what were they doing? How did this movie end? And
I just haven't had the chance to see it. Sorry.
What's going to happen with the if they put anything at the end to say like, okay, now the DC is going in a different way. They didn't really do that,
right?
But that's the things I was.
Well, I mean, this film technically was made to be released 3 years ago, and it also at the same time was under total different management.
Right.
So I guess it was a matter of I mean. We'll see. I mean, as far as we can tell, at the end of that film, Barry Allen's Flash, that version of Barry Allen, ends up in an alternate timeline. We see that because we end up with a new Batman, George Clooney's Batman. Yeah,
you're like, oh no, where's Chris O'Donnell?
Yeah. Oh God. But they could only hire George Clooney.
Up with Alicia
you're like, does that mean Arnold is Mr. Freeze again?
Oh no!
I'm back.
I'm back.
What if he at the very end he's like smoking a cigar? He's like, I'm back. I told you I'd be back.
We're talking about the Flash and the end of the film when we see George Clooney as the new, as a reoccurrence
George Clooney getting out of his
Bruce Wayne, based off of I assume off of the Joel Schumacher series, but yeah, Mr. Freeze was Arnold Schwarzenegger and he was in that film. So
yes.
Anyway,
Oh, sorry. And then I also saw Asteroid City.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
Which I really liked. Mm-hmm. It was good. I mean, I love all of Wes Anderson's everything that he does.
Right.
Like, I love his dialogue and the choice of actors he uses, and like, it's a very it's a very stage page. Like all of his movies are very like it's got to be exactly this way. Like. Tone of actors and the speed they say things and all that stuff and timing and the way shots are all worked out. I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
This one was a slightly slower of a story. Like there wasn't like a lot of going on. It wasn't very hectic like some of his movies are.
Okay.
So it was a little bit slower of a story, but I loved it. The production design, the look of everything was amazing.
Yeah.
The shot composition and like timing of actors and them all working that out, that plays a lot into his movies. And I thought this is really almost at meta to a meta level, like where everything's ultra focused on.
Yeah.
Okay. So It was definitely a cool Wes Anderson movie. I really liked it.
I actually plan to try to check it out this week. I just haven't had the chance yet.
You'll definitely appreciate the look and the style and the
Oh, I
art
want to see
of it.
production design more than anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had a mixed reaction with his style of filmmaking, I guess. It's not to say that he doesn't anything. He's definitely got a style about him, and I think it's
Right.
respectful. It just doesn't necessarily connect with me, but I do want to
I
see
think
this
you'll like
for the
this one
production design.
because it's even. I mean, it does go into it, like, I don't want to spoil it, but I think
Okay.
you'd like it a lot. I think this
Okay.
one you'll like,
Okay.
even though it's just going in, know that it's like a slower
Yeah.
pace of a movie.
Right.
But if you think of it as in a play,
Yeah.
which I know you did a lot of Playhouse stuff,
Yeah.
I think you'll
Okay.
really like it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What about you, Max? What have you been up to this week? Anything fun and interesting?
I saw what's it called? Oh man, that new Jennifer Lawrence movie, No Hard Feelings.
Oh, yeah, how was that?
It was funny. I liked it. It had some funny moments.
Fair enough.
Was
It looked like, what
interesting.
is she doing this like low budget comedy thing for?
Yeah, there's a lot of baffling stuff, and I mean, it's pretty mid-budget. It's like they made. I think it looks like the budget was 45 mil, so it was pretty mid-budget comedy.
Right.
She gets naked in it. I mean, that's the highlight, I guess, for most
Okay.
Like
people.
completely naked?
Completely naked for a fight scene.
Okay.
That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
All right. Fair enough. The
Yeah.
trailer just doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't look anything. I like humor though, and me is not
It had
necessarily.
heart in it. I will say
Okay, fair enough.
it was a lot. It had a lot better human story than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was
Okay.
going to be some dumb jokes the whole time, but it actually had
Okay.
some good character stuff in it.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. One of the other movies that come out this week is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Oh yeah, because today is the first day of the week.
First day of the week, so yes, it is technically on Thursday. I'm got my ticket to go see a
Oh, you're going
matinee.
Thursday night.
Yeah, well, Thursday late afternoon, 3 p.m. I think, or something like that.
Oh, that's
see Dial of Destiny. Yeah, most of
fairly
the
early.
movies get released about 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. So,
Hmm.
but I'm very excited. A good friend of mine, worked on it. So I'm curious to see his, the work that comes of this film. I'm glad that the reaction from the Hollywood premiere a week and a half ago has
Was
had
good.
very positive reviews, more so than the critics' reviews, which was a little harsh.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of
just-
that. I haven't listened to any of that.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
kind of just I've successfully stayed away
Fair
from
enough.
like knowing
That's fair enough.
any of the storyline or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I even like whatever recently saw actors and stuff, and I was like, okay.
There are
just-
two things I'm excited for in this. Excited for just seeing another Indiana Jones film on
Right.
the big screen, and I'm
Put him in a
excited for
costume
another
and,
John
like,
Williams.
yeah.
And another John Williams soundtrack.
That's what I'm saying,
cannot
like,
wait to
Put
hear
him in the
this.
costume,
Yeah.
play the music, and just
Yeah.
let him sit in a chair for 2 hours, and I would watch that movie. He put on the costume and he sat in a chair and he's like,
Well, good news. I
waiting to
heard
get
he
out
sits in the
there.
chair for 2 hours in the new movie.
Yeah, I would totally be like, okay with that.
Yeah.
There's two things you want. You want Harrison in the suit,
Mhm.
and you want the music. That's
Yeah.
all that's really needed.
Totally.
I kind of want to see him use a whip. I mean, but that's just me.
Yeah, we've seen him use a whip in the trailer, so it's like, okay, he's got the fedora, he's got the whip, he's Indiana Jones. I mean,
Do we think his hat will fall off his head throughout the movie, or
I
do we
don't
think it
know.
will stay on his head?
I don't know. I hadn't thought about that one.
It's gonna
I
fall off
just-
his head, man.
Of course, he's gonna have.
I think
the
we should
moment
put
where,
bets
like,
on how many times the hat falls off.
Yeah.
we should put bets on what scenario he loses his hat in.
Oh, that's a better one. I
Yeah.
think maybe on the train. That
Fair
train's windy. It's
The train.
it's
Oh,
blowing.
it blows off. and then,
I think I
Fair
think it's gonna be instead of like a slide under a thing or whatever. I think he's gonna jump and it's gonna like fly off his head, and he's gonna have to like
Fair enough.
run to
Fair.
catch
Then,
it.
of course, he's gonna find it later when he's driving around. And he just sees it on a twig right above his head.
Right.
Well, the Young Indiana Jones.
Or he's got a
Chronicles, I've
ring,
been-
and he just hits the ring, and then boom, a hat flies out of it, and he puts.
I've been watching the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and they actually did the hat gag where the hat comes off and then it blows in the wind back at him again. I thought that was great.
That's funny.
It's definitely a tradition. We'll see if that continues into the new film.
Yeah.
What else is there? Hey there, Black Loki.
Yes, I saw the
Yeah.
Flash. We just talked about it.
Yeah, we just talked about it. You missed
Rewind.
our you missed our little or at least
It was good.
Elijah's little comment.
He was fast,
Okay, he was
and then he had
fast.
lost his powers.
And then he got annoying
And
because
then
he
he
had to
wasn't
double.
fast.
He was doubly annoying.
Yeah,
and there's some really
doubly
bad-
annoying. Yes.
Really bad CG. Oh, and I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, having to go back to that one more time. Like
Yeah.
all the Ezra Miller stuff. It's weird that there were like him walking into another house and stealing like liquor from another house. I was like, what? What is going on?
Yeah.
Was this a
Yeah.
publicity stunt or what was going on? There was something else,
Yeah.
and now I'm forgetting what they were. But there were like 2 or 3 things, and you're like, wait a minute, like
Yeah.
he did that. Was this like a publicity
Your
stunt?
Warner Brothers set him up.
I don't know. It was weird, but
See,
there
got
were
this
things
great
like that where I
marketing
was,
idea for you, bud. Get in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
but sorry.
Back to Indiana Jones, though. Okay, so how old were you guys when you first saw Raiders of the Lost Ark? Do you think?
Probably -0. I don't know.
Zero.
I was always. I mean, I was born '95, so it was literally always around. So it's like I
right.
can't even place how old I was because it was
Have you-
always.
Max, have you
on.
ever seen it in the big screen then, or?
No.
Raiders?
dude.
Oh no. Okay. Wow.
The only one I've ever seen on the big screen is the last one.
Yeah, I was 11 when Raiders came out, so I did see it with my parents and stuff. They took my brothers to go see it, which I remember just being fun. I loved it, and it's just one of those things. It's you grow up with Indiana Jones in your life as Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
and it just is like. It's whether the film is a good one like the original 3 or whether it's not as great like number 4, you still have to admire that Harrison Ford loves to come back to this role, and it seems like this is going to be
It's a
the
cool
end
role.
of
It's
this role.
unfortunate that 4 was really bad because if this one's good, 4 is it's just going to be annoying that 4 is even a movie.
4 didn't bother me, but
I think
Yeah,
that
you
might be
did.
just a weird
You just
not
said it
canon.
wasn't good.
I got to edit together
You
a
just
little
said
reaction.
it
We did a
wasn't
reaction. Well, no. I said
You
that
just
it wasn't
said it
good.
wasn't
I
good.
meant into the public. It could have been better.
But you even hung your head and you're like,
Yes.
I like it. Like you're like ashamed that you like it. Anyways,
I enjoy it. Yes.
the first 3 were amazing. I think I saw Raiders I obviously saw it on VHS because I can't remember if I saw Temple of Doom in the
Right.
theaters or if I just remember it being
Mhm.
on home, and as a kid you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, I was still fascinated by it. Anyways,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming that I only saw it on VHS, but for some reason I feel
Right.
like I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
And Raiders was always like my second favorite growing up because
Yeah.
Temple of Doom was the one that I kind of started off with, and it's got short round and it's a little bit more heavy and everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get to appreciate Raiders until I was older. Probably until after I got into Last Crusade. After that, I kind of came back around to Raiders and really appreciated it.
Yeah. I saw Raiders again at the 40th anniversary re-release 2 years ago in the theaters. They re-released it, and I got to rewatch it on a big screen again, and it was just every much the experience as when I was 11 years old when I saw it. So I'm just, it's going to be sad. I feel like at the end of this film, I'm emotionally, I know John Williams officially said he was going to retire, then coming out of retirement, and that he's going to continue doing a couple of things and projects. But
I think I know what projects he's doing. I think he's going to help out on the Indiana Jones game and a few other low key things, and then he's going to be out. I think he's going to finish some of these legacy projects that he had.
Well, originally, I didn't realize this. Mangold mentioned in an interview that apparently John Williams was originally coming on to the film just to write a handful of key themes. And then he kind of went, screw it, I'm going to do the whole film. Which, again, it's like, you've got to consider the fact that John Williams is now, 91, 92 years old kind of thing is really, really up there. And so for him to kind of continue doing a full score, he'll probably do little things here and there in the future, but
I think he's going to be helping out with the Indiana Jones game. It seems like one of the developers has been hinting at that they're going to have a legendary musician helping out with the score.
Oh, really?
And I mean, there's only a few people who'd be helping out on that score to legendary. It could be him or Bear McCready, maybe.
Yeah, Ben McCurry. Yeah. But anyway, it's going to be kind of emotionally sad for me to hear that score because I feel like this is going to be one of the last complete scores that we may get because I think he will continue
From John Williams.
From John Williams. Yeah, he will continue doing little pieces and maybe the occasional theme, but I don't think he's going to score an entire film from beginning to end again at this point. I could be wrong. We'll wait and see, depending on how he does over the next couple of years and what he and Spielberg collaborate over. But yeah. I already said it didn't bother me. It's one of those films that it grew on me with age a little bit. I enjoyed it more. So anyway, well again, I'll have to edit our little reaction to that film since Jason hadn't seen it. Yeah, guys. Any other Indiana Jones thoughts before we move on?
I hope it's good.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it next week.
I hope there's less aliens.
I hope there's no aliens.
I'm just hoping for less. I could allow some, but I'm just hoping for less.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Either way, we're going to see it next week. I'm sure all of us will end up by seeing it before next Sunday, and I definitely will be wanting to talk about it and my thoughts and everything about that. So that'll be kind of fun. So, going from something we're really enjoying to something that is kind of let's talk about the trailer. I know, Elijah, you haven't watched it yet, but the trailer that dropped this week was for Kraven the Hunter. Sonyverse has decided to do Kraven the Hunter rated R in the Spider-Man universe, but without Spider-Man, which is like, how do you do any characters in the Spider-Man universe but not have Spider-Man there? Max,
Flash
what were your
Thompson, the movie with just being Flash Thompson.
That's it. Yeah, Max, what were your thoughts on this trailer?
When Rhino said, "Do you know why they called me the Rhino?" or they called me the Rhino, and then literally transformed into a rhino, I thought they were messing with me.
Oh, really?
I thought it was like a joke. But they're like, "Nah, just kidding. It's a guy in a rhino suit, obviously." But I'm just like, I think they're just messing with the audience. I think they're just trying to see what they could pull to get people talking like Morbius. I think it's gonna be like bad on purpose for controversy. Almost like I don't think they put any actual thought into this movie.
So you don't think that this is going to be a human who can transform into a rhino and back again?
No, I think it's exactly what Rhino is in this movie. I think it's exactly what they're doing, and I think they're just it's almost a joke. I think they're like nothing even matters. No, we're just gonna have random stuff because people get mad at it.
This is the
no, I don't even think it's a tax. I think it's
like
a movie where they're banking on controversy.
I think that's the only way that you actually can get some of these movies to work is to have some of those characters actually cross over into the film. To do individual films, like any of these films. So I know that Madam Web is coming out this next year.
I just don't get why they're not doing any characters with an actually interesting story that people can connect to. Like it just seems
that's the thing. It's like what? Why that character?
Anchorman's got a question.
Yeah.
Do either one of you like Morbius? I've never seen it still.
The character, yes. The movie, no.
Really? And Elijah, have you seen Morbius?
I mean, whatever. No, I haven't seen it, I never cared for the character either.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
He's not that interesting of a character. I mean, he's fun in the right circumstance, but
So Sony
his solo books always die because no one buys them. That should tell you a lot about the character. Now,
at the end of the day, Max, you know more than all of us. Kraven.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, I mean, just saying, but you do know in the reference. Kraven the Hunter. Is he a hero, an anti-hero, or a villain?
Dude's a villain. I mean,
okay, he's a villain. So
I'd say his last major appearance.
So Sony are going to take him and make him into an anti-hero, right?
Yes, they had this idea where they were like, let's turn Kraven the Hunter, who hunts animals and wears their flesh. Let's turn him into an animal conservationalist.
Okay,
that's his whole
that
deal.
Thought just for a second. Morbius
in this movie,
hero, villain, or anti-hero?
Morbius is an anti-hero.
Okay, so they did stick to him as an anti-hero in the film. Okay.
Yes.
And then what was the other one? Oh, Venom. Hero, anti-hero, or villain?
Both.
Okay.
He's all three. He started off as a villain.
Yeah.
Then he became an anti-hero with the Lethal Protector series.
Okay.
And right now he's just a straight up hero. He kind of saved the universe with
right.
Null. The Avengers kind of respect him. It's a whole deal.
All right. Okay. So they kind of got that right there too. Then I guess. Yeah.
But it's they're not. I think Venom is a character that could have really interesting human stories with him. I think a lot of, especially recent writers, have shown you could reinvent the character. Also, if you want to, like, they gave him a son, which allowed people to have a lot stronger connection to him. And I think there's a lot of ways to make Eddie Brock an interesting character.
Yeah.
But instead, Sony is doing the cheapest route, like they were doing with Kraven, like they did with Morbius, where they're just they're doing like bland action movies instead of movies about human stories, and they're not thinking about like anything other than what if we had this actor as this character jumping off buildings and stuff.
Which is amazing still to me, because at this point in time, Across the Spider-Verse is still doing incredibly strong 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
And it's got a great story.
Yeah, and it's got a great story. Exactly.
And like real emotional moments.
And that's writing for animation. And there is no difference from writing to animation than there is for live action if they do the same kind of push with characters.
It's not about CGI. It's about story.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's why the whole trend with the people saying they're sick of superheroes. It's because we're not getting anything about like character stories anymore. We're not
and it's just not interesting anymore. It's like they're not even doing interesting takes. Like
that's why I can't wait for X-Men. It's
give
also
an
opera.
Interesting take. Like, come on, like they're all superheroes. The nice thing about superheroes is they can be redone multiple times, and it's not going to matter as long as the story is good and interesting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They're all cool characters. Every single one of them is a cool character, like pretty much. Like they're all interesting characters. It's like, why not use that to their advantage, where they really pinpoint like what makes these characters special. I mean, some people do that, like obviously James Gunn, like it has a talent of like really bringing out a character or bringing out giving these characters character.
Yeah. Although I have to admit, with James, I got a feeling that he was definitely hyping up the Flash more than it definitely should have been hyped up.
Maybe a little bit.
Like he's getting paid. It's like he's like,
that's it. He's in charge. He has to set an example. I can at least understand and respect that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he did get more people in the seats than he would have if he didn't promote that film.
Sure.
He did say it was the greatest superhero movie of all time, and that's just an overstatement I'll never forget.
That was a total overstatement. I agree there. I do agree. It definitely was.
He's put that into
better superhero films.
ChatGPT. Like, write me something, ChatGPT, and that's what it came out with.
Yeah.
He didn't write it.
Yeah. No, totally. Well, I mean, Sony did do one thing right this week.
It took El Muerto
off the table.
I think they really thought about it hard, and no one in the room could remember who El Muerto was. And they're like, "What's his deal again?"
They're comic book history. I mean,
is this the Mexican restaurant we ordered from for lunch? They're like, "No, that's the movie that we're producing." Oh,
that's funny. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was a baffling announcement when that got made. I'm pretty sure it was just Bad Bunny and his agent were like flipping through Wikipedia looking for superheroes you could play or villains or whatever. Yeah, they were like, this guy seems right, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that from Spider-Man, whether it is Peter Parker or Miles Morales or any of the other versions of Spider-Men or women, it seems like they've got a more functional set of characters they can do a spin-off from and still introduce some of these villains. Well, come on. I mean, but across the
not more than a lot of other franchises and a lot of other superheroes. I think Spider-Man just has the ability of being owned by Sony right now, and that's the only thing they really have to. Right. Because when Universal had Hulk, they couldn't really make a leader movie because leader is just a villain who he's smart, but he's not gonna really do much without any other characters.
That's not gonna happen. They're not smart enough to do that.
I don't even think a solo Doc Ock movie would be good.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they went the Superior Spider-Man route, which at that point would be a completely different thing. But he just has such a big ego. Unless you have a better character to hurt his ego, Doc Ock just isn't going to be as fun.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But it just, Sinister Six. They keep on trying to push for that, and that keeps on.
They did it.
Through.
That's what they did in No Way Home.
Yeah,
Well,
that's basically what they did.
Yeah, I guess, but it. Yeah.
They had 5 of them, and Venom was in on the beach.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, Venom not being there was okay, Venom, yes.
That was tacky. That was a tacky joke.
That was a tacky.
I realized afterwards they were like, we counted wrong. There's only 5 of them.
Yeah. No, there's 6. He was there in the end credit. Yeah, I know, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, with Sonyverse, I guess The Kraven the Hunter, the trailer didn't appeal to me. It's up there with Morbius and probably Venom.
I think it's going to bomb harder than Morbius. I think it's going to get memed harder, and I hope it goes back to theaters like 3 times, just to bomb even harder 3 times in a row.
Like they did with Morbius.
Yeah. I hope people keep memeing it into theaters.
Yeah. Nah, it's going to be... it's going to be interesting where the Sonyverse goes from here on in. I mean, we've got another Beyond the Spider-Verse is next year or the year after. I can't remember.
Yeah, next year.
They say it's next year, but an animator claims it's never.
2025. Yeah.
I bet I bet it's 90% done. I bet they kind of knew that I was going to be right after. I bet it could be done or nearly done.
Possibly.
I think they did them at the same time. That's what I felt.
That's what I heard initially. But then there's an animator who claims he worked on the film, I think. I don't know what the whole story was, but he claims that there was people that were being overworked on it or something like that. Yeah. The next movie's not going to be released in 2024, but I think he could just be speculating.
I'm fine if they just wait to hold it off and give it time to be finished properly.
I need more Ben Reilly now.
Yeah. But you've got such incredible characters in those animated stories, and just pull from some of that a little better. I mean, give us a Miles Morales story. I mean, I'm almost fine if we don't continue seeing Tom Holland's Spider-Man continue in the Sonyverse at this point. Unless they've got the writers to back it up. It's pure and simple. They need the proper writing team to back up a solid Spider-Man, let alone any of these other characters. But I'm fine.
Well, the problem with Tom Holland's Spider-Man is they just took all of his greatest foes and just had him fight multiversal versions of him.
Right.
Of them, which
was a different story.
I think I think it really is going to hamper the character. He's not going to have the people that challenge him. It's just going to be situations that challenge him, and people are going to, challenge him momentarily, but without a Norman Osborn looming over him and a Doc Ock constantly challenging him. Yeah. I don't know if Peter would have evolved into that same character that he's become.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, another thing too is like when they make these 3 or 4 movies, it's all the same actor. Like, other than Hugh Jackman, like you're going to age out of the role, like at some point. Yeah. Like. Especially with the Spider-Man or the teen characters or any character, really. Like after
all these young Avengers.
After 3 movies, like you got to start thinking of a different actor because they're gonna like age out of the part.
Yeah.
I
mean, to a certain degree that makes sense. I mean, sometimes
I think with Spider-Man they could have him play a little longer. I think because right now in the comics, obviously Spider-Man's an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, they could have one story where, they did the high school Tom Holland Spider-Man, and they're going to do college, and I could see them doing one adult movie or project and then killing him off.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm
just saying eventually, like they can't have one actor play for everybody. And that's just going back to like, comic book movies can be done over and over again by different people. So
yeah. I mean, I'm also fine with the multiverse element of things. Again, Across the Spider-Verse has proven that they've got multiple versions of Spider-Man or Spider-Women that can be an interesting live-action follow. I mean, I would follow a Gwen Stacy, Spider-Woman, Spider-Girl, story if they did it right. I would definitely follow a live-action Miles Morales.
I think they'll probably go live-action Miles. I mean, I think he's such a popular character. It'd be, almost dumb not to do that in the next 20 years.
Yeah, but even the Indian Spider-Man, Peter
Pavatar.
Avatar.
Oh my god, I can't remember his last name.
Yeah, but that was an interesting take on that character. I don't know anything about that character up until now. It's like, okay,
He has an interesting story. It was literally I think it was a teacher in India wanted to do an Indian version of Spider-Man. He wrote Stanley a letter, and Marvel was basically bankrupt at the time. So this guy goes, "Sure, I'll license the character for you." The guy goes, "Well, can I change some aspects to make him fit Indian culture?" And Stan went, "Do whatever you want, kid."
Oh wow, okay.
And he ended up releasing the book in India and then in the United States.
Yeah,
nice.
it did very well.
Which was
I'm
pretty
guessing.
cool.
Yeah,
I did all right. It was like
right.
it was. I remember seeing it around comic book shops all the time.
Gotcha. I mean, again, it's like they've got these options of doing multicultural versions and multi-universe versions, and reintroduce again. You bring in a Kraven for that version of that universe, or you bring it and don't. I'm tired of these super villains or super anti-hero characters. That it works for one or two things like Deadpool or something like that. But
the problem is they're not giving them a story to latch onto. They're just doing things for vague I'm bad, but it's also for the good of the world. But it's also like there's no connection to anything real for them.
Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, they don't have any. Yeah, as you said before, it's like they don't have a Spider-Man to test them, or they don't have a Doc Ock to test them these
characters need good foils. I mean,
that's it. Yeah,
to bring out the best of each other. I think it's not. They obviously need a great human story to connect people, but when you have Kraven just fighting a bunch of businessmen, who's gonna want to pay to see? Like, he's obviously gonna win that fight. They're businessmen. Like, maybe one of them does MMA, but he's Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, I'm afraid I don't think I'll be going to the theaters to watch Kraven the Hunter either. And I went to see Venom, and I think I saw Venom 2 out of hopes that it was going to be better. I did not enjoy either Venom or Venom 2. It just totally didn't do anything. It felt like a 90s comic book movie.
It's based off of a 90s comic book, so maybe that fits.
There you go. That's it. But maybe that's what they're going for. But it's like it felt like I was watching a movie, a superhero film from the 90s, like the first Fantastic Four film felt
first
like
Daredevil or something.
Yeah, that's it. They felt like they belong in the 90s, and I was just like,
Superman 4.
They added nothing to that. Now, if they did something in the 90s that they added story or arc to, but we're getting the exact same reoccurring element in their live action stuff, and Sony just need to bring that game up to their animated film version of the Spider-Verse. And
I think Madam Web's going to be the most baffling because from what the casting sounds
is that a movie or series?
It's filmed. It's a movie. It's filmed. Okay. It's wrapped.
That hasn't been that's wrapped. They filmed it.
They filmed it. It's wrapped. Yeah. Like it's coming out, and it's going to be even more baffling because it seems like it's going to be Madam Web just with any female Spider person they could or Spider person associate.
Except for Tom Holland. Except for Peter Parker.
Tom Holland. Yeah. And it seems like she's just going to be doing a bunch of vague spider stuff, which it seems like the character is going to be like everyone from Silk to Black Cat to Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman to Jessica Drew Spider-Woman to just every random female.
That'd be an interesting version to see too. A live action.
I mean, it could be interesting, but I also think it's just such a random idea to have a movie called Madam Web and just have it just be female web warriors.
Very strange.
Right. Yeah.
Very strange pick.
Yeah. Sony are not thinking.
And apparently Mary Jane's going to play a part in the movie too, so that's going to be hilarious to see how they do.
Does anything that just have that anything to do with like whatever the rule is of like obtaining making so many things with the character so it doesn't fall out of your hands or whatever? Like I don't know what that is. It's like before like
copyright
law where they have to they have to be producing so much from the one character before they lose the license or before they use the copyright law. It's
but copyright law also means that you should be respectfully looking for good source material at the same time.
Right, but I'm saying it's like they just don't know what they're doing because they're not comic book fans and they're just like,
I think that might be it.
Yeah.
You might be onto something because that was the whole thing with Universal and the Hulk where they basically had all those years to use the Hulk. Yeah. And they kind of respectfully chose not to let the rights kind of revert back to Marvel to try the Marvel kind of deal, which never really worked. But they could be using these characters like
So
Silk and Madam
we
Web.
have to use these characters because maybe
Or
the
else
other
Marvel
ones,
gets them.
well, maybe because the other characters are kind of tied into other properties, and they're not essentially in that Spider-Man character lineup or whatever they have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like maybe
it's
maybe Dr. Octopus is not on that list, or
Right,
they're only
yeah.
going
No,
for
I
like
get that
characters that
too.
are on their
makes sense.
list, so that they can we got to make a movie. If it's good, great.
Yeah.
If it's bad, oh well.
Then
That's what they think. That's how they think. There's like, well, as long as we make our money back, we don't care.
Then at least look at what you can use and incorporate more elements of that and make it a solid story.
Well, that's the problem. They're getting
As
these
a
hack
challenge
writers
for this
they're getting these hack writers who don't care about these projects. They're getting directors who only take it on because they're being told it's a big name superhero project and it's going to make them the next big thing.
Or or new directors that need a bigger project.
Yeah.
Kind of like
or people like, didn't Andy Serkis direct Venom too? Because they're like, hey man, like they gave him
direct something.
Yeah. It's like they're dangling carrots. They're telling people like it's a big project, it's a superhero thing, and people clamor for it, but they don't really have any attachment or desire to make it good other than vanity reasons. So it doesn't end up being good products usually.
Right.
Yeah, that's the case. I mean, I guess it's I guess we could jump into going across the MCU right now. Let's talk about.
Secret Invasion?
Secret Invasion, yes, which season premiere aired this week. We're going to talk spoilers. We did a reaction to it, and we'll continue doing reactions for the next 5 more weeks. What did you guys think of that season premiere, or premiere, I should say?
It's good.
I thought it was good. It felt like a movie to me. It felt like the first half. I mean, it felt like a short movie. I mean, it looked like a movie and felt like a movie. So I thought it was really good, and I'm sure it's going to get better as it continues.
Yeah, I went in just with no, I was not caring at all to watch another Marvel show at that point in time. And I actually finally, for the first time in a while, I mean, it felt like when I was watching Miss Marvel, I had that kind of turnaround of like, oh, I'm actually invested in these characters.
Yeah.
Again, and that's been a while happening. We have not been as invested. I was not as invested in the characters for She-Hulk. I wasn't invested in in some of these other story arcs that they've done in the TV shows as the shows went on last year. And I'm finally feeling invested in Nick Fury, which I thought was starting to get to be kind of like a character that was tiring out. I was getting tired of that character from the movies. So I enjoyed it. Where do we think this is going to go for Nick Fury? Do we have any theories that,
I think he's going to go all the way down the rabbit hole. He's going to win. He's Nick Fury. He's got to win. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to go through some tough crap. I think it's going to push him to Pat. Like, this episode definitely pushed him to his limit, but I think this season's going to push him way past what he thought was possible.
Yeah.
And
well, we know he's around for the future because we've seen him in the trailer for the Marvels, which
I think Sam Jackson also said the Marvels takes place after Secret Invasion too.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I assume he'll be around for even more stuff down the track because it feels like that a lot of these continual arcs are spiraling into this entire a phase, I guess, right?
Yeah, and Nick Fury is definitely the longest running Marvel character now because Iron Man's out, and he was in the first Iron Man movie, so like he's really made it through the longest run. He's got to have the highest number of in movies. Like he's even in the side movies. So Nick Fury is, I could see keep going.
Yeah. Spoilers here, of course, but Maria Hill, they killed her off. She's been in since practically almost like day one.
Since Avengers 1.
Season 1, yeah. Phase 1, I should say. She has never got a total amount of screen time. This might have been the most screen time that we've seen from her. And it was a red flag right there, and it still didn't hit me.
She's going to die.
It didn't hit me. I didn't think she was going to die. I thought this was just like, oh, great. We're going to see more of this character. And we did. And now she's no more.
Well, she got shot in the stomach. So, maybe she's on an operating table, in the next episode. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if they brought her back. I mean, Maria
It,
Hill
it
is.
seems like they could. It wasn't like a shot in the head. She wasn't like
Yeah.
dead. It's like they could go.
You know what?
I don't know.
This gives me a theory. I think I think
We
Maria
might
Hill
see her in
faked
the
her.
future.
I think she faked her death. I'm gonna call it right
Oh,
now.
really?
Here's why. She
Okay.
knows this is too big. She knows Shield needs someone in charge, and she knows that they need someone in charge the Skrulls can't know about. So I think she's ultimately going to be the next head of Shield, while Nick Fury not retires but elevates himself up to Sword or
Okay.
whatever he's doing up in the Saber Station.
All
I
right.
can see that because that shot it didn't feel like dead. It just felt like that it hindered on a like questionable like did she die or did she
Really?
pass out? Like what's the
And
deal?
it's such a Fury move. Fury
Right.
did
Yeah,
the same
you're
thing
right.
in
You're right.
was it
It
Winter
could be.
Soldier?
Yeah.
And he didn't tell anyone. He just made everyone believe he was dead.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, she still could be dead. We don't know. But it also doesn't mean like but we're also talking about multiverse, so we also could be dealing with a version of her in the future too. But it's at the same time, it's like it was an emotional moment. I was impacted
good.
by it. It
It
was
got
good.
me.
They played. Yeah, it played out well. And again, it's like it's been a while since I've felt that emotion. I think it's because it goes back to the threat limit. It feels like the threat is real at that point in the story arcs. And we never got that from Quantum Mania. We never got any deaths of characters. We've got so many characters now. They can afford to kill off a couple here and there to push those boundaries. And it feels like this is the first time in a while we've had a good, solid hero death of a character, or could be dead. Now that Max has put that on the table, but it's one of those things of like, it feels like this show is going to have consequences for the first.
Yeah, I
time
think
in
it's
a
gonna
while.
have some bigger consequences than people think. I'm gonna straight up say I think Rhodey's a Skrull. I think they're setting it up
Really?
for Dermot McDilroy to be the Skrull or whatever his name. Yeah, is that his name?
Right.
Yeah.
I think they're setting him up to be the Skrull because he's a little shifty and
He's always playing the shifty character. I'm like,
yeah, but I think they're gonna pull the twist where he's shifty because he thinks that Don Cheadle is a Skrull.
Okay.
Okay. Fair enough.
We'll see.
Fair enough. Yeah, we'll see. Think the president's the scroll?
I mean,
Trump? Definitely.
That could be a turmoil changer right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this show goes. I mean, it's again, I know very little about any of the Secret Invasion stories, and
you don't need to. The writers were told not to read it anyway.
Yeah.
Really, okay, so they're doing their own
Just know
thing.
there's
no
a
matter
secret
what.
invasion.
There's a secret invasion, and it deals with the scrolls, and that's pure and simple.
That is what bothers me about Marvel right now. Where the writers were actively told, and they said in an interview that they were told not to read it. They haven't read it, which means Marvel just gave them a rundown of what they told them they wanted to write. They hired these people who don't know what they're writing to write some stuff. Marvel says, no, we need you to change this, and this to match your stuff. And it's no one who cares about anything. It's just gig work and filling paper.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of weird when it comes to writers and like that type of mentality
I
over the
think
writing.
Marvel doesn't want people passionate about Marvel comics because they don't want people getting in their way.
But in this particular case,
whoa! You want Marvel doesn't want people to like their comics because they don't want it get in the way of their movies.
I really do think that. I mean, I listened to interviews from the writers of Captain America, and they wrote Endgame too, and they blatantly said they don't read comic books.
I think there needs to be this mixture of both. I think there still needs to be the
I think there's a few outliers.
skill.
They have James Gunn, but I think Taika Waititi, I don't really think is a big comic book fan.
Yeah.
There's a few people out there like I've rarely heard these writers actually be able to talk about comic books and not been like being like an interview answer like they've been told what to say. And I think at this point Marvel just doesn't want these people who are passionate about Marvel comics to be involved with Marvel Studios.
Which is interesting because I feel like you need that element of the solid stories that have kept the Marvel comics going for so long to at least have a not a fact checker but a keep within.
Well,
certain
that's what Kevin
parameters.
Feige thinks he does. He's their editor in chief. He's the guy in charge, and he's the guy that makes those bad decisions and good decisions. But he's the one that makes decisions that they're 616 and not 199999.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
I think they need to have that other person in the room that's a comic book fan that says, "Hey, man, you can be your own universe and be a part of something greater. You don't need to have to be something that's already been done." And you can also, I think there's a lot of reasons they need people who are passionate about just this universe in general. But I just think it's interesting that the writers are now allowed to say in interviews, "Yeah, we didn't read the book. The only 6-issue series this is based off of."
Right.
Like it's 120 pages. They were told not to read 120 pages of research, which is that's baffling to me.
Just to put their own spin on a story, but still be told the guided line of what.
It's like Marvel has to literally guide them to say, like, because if it's not based on anything, it's like, well, how would they know what a scroll is or a secret invasion is? It's like it's just gig work where Marvel says, "You want your name on this project? You write what we tell you to write," and it's like. I don't think that's conducive to a long-term universe and into making these projects last a while.
Well, far, as I said, the first episode.
I liked it. I liked it. That being said, I liked it.
Yeah, that's it.
So, it might have more promise in the comic, which, to be fair, wasn't a great comic. It wasn't a great story. Right. But it's very interesting that Marvel told them to ignore it completely.
Yeah.
I think you'd want to know your source material if you're adapting something, even if just by name.
Right.
She goes the opposite direction.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much else to talk about. It's been kind of a quiet week for news and stuff, so we could just keep talking about this for a little bit if you want to. It's what else is there? What else are we looking at with actually some of the other things coming up? We've also got Loki coming up in October, so we're actually jumping.
I think they might get bumped because of
so?
Jonathan Majors.
Could be, yeah. Maybe.
I think they're being very low key about it because no pun intended. Because I think they want to
low key. Oh, I like that.
I think they want to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think we know how it's going to play out, unfortunately, and it's going to involve a letting go, and it'll probably happen about that same time frame, which won't be good.
I think that's what they're worried about because
what's wrong with these actors, man? What's wrong with these people?
I know. Yeah.
They've been having bad luck. I mean, with Namor too, Namor got caught up in some stuff. I mean, I don't really know all the details of that. But they had some bad luck this phase with some of their villains.
Yeah.
But they're really bad guys. At least they're picking bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see them in the audition room and the casting assistant's like, I really believe he's a bad person.
Let's do a background check on him first.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I don't know. It's I mean, I think it's weird. It's like, I guess because it's more genre elemented, that more actors that they bring in, if there is a problem down the line, that it's going to affect them obviously more than just a one-off movie that comes out. If a single film that's
but the weird thing is they were so good for so long about casting actors who were really good about following just the rules and staying in the system and just playing by the old school Hollywood book, doing the interviews, staying out of the bad public press. And now it's kind of going the other way for them, and I think that's while their movies are slowly declining, and I think that's not what they want right now. They know it's not what they need.
Yeah. No, exactly, yeah. And maybe that also kind of goes to the element of like maybe picking some, I mean, I guess in the sense of Namor, he's kind of a less known actor, but maybe it is going with less known actors in the future with some of these key roles.
I think it's all crapshoot. People are people.
I'd be happy to see other people in those type of roles.
Yeah.
Because you kind of want someone you don't know who they are anyways,
Yeah.
Totally.
Especially for someone you want to get attached to for a while. You don't want to think oh, that's that guy from that thing. You want to think like that's that character.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope this new Superman is like almost a complete unknown where they take him from
get someone fresh, do a background check, and
Peter who's never been in a movie before, or like whatever, like they like a first time actor, like that.
I agree.
A bodybuilder or one of the
Danny DeVito
guys, or Danny DeVito or whatever,
yeah.
But someone that like we just think that we don't know. So like when we see a new Superman or a new character like that, it's just like, okay, we have to take him for who this character is instead of thinking
totally
something else.
Oh, that's a big movie star kind of thing. Yeah,
right.
I don't need to
was
see
kinda
a
good about,
character and
like,
go,
you
"That's a
know,
big movie star." Yeah,
Right.
that was good about the early MCU a little bit when you had, people like Chris Hemsworth, who wasn't a big name before
Sure.
Thor.
Right.
People were, he was getting all that backlash. Like, how do you cast an unknown actor as Thor, the God of Thunder? And now
that's
he's
what
just
you want.
Thor.
You want someone that you don't.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be like a new person,
Totally.
even in the story, it's like a god coming from outer,
Yeah.
And also look at his career. He has flourished. He's done all sorts of movies.
Totally.
He had Extraction 2 drop this week or last week. Like, Chris Hemsworth has done well for himself.
Yeah.
And Fabio was way too old at that point to play Thor.
Yeah, after that bird wrecked his face, it was pretty hard for him.
Yeah.
Wait, a bird wrecked Fabio's face?
He was on a roller coaster to his face.
Oh,
into
really?
his beautiful German face.
Okay, fair enough. And most of the audience probably don't even know who Fabio is, so it's like, yeah.
Well, they gotta look it up. There's a thing called the internet. Google it.
Or just ask your mothers.
Yeah. Or look in your mother's books.
Yeah. Look at the covers.
Fair enough.
Look for the shirtless guy with long hair. No, the other one.
The one with blonde hair.
Yeah. Wrong one. Sorry. Yeah. Did you guys like? Yeah, we.
Did we talk about that?
Yeah. We all.
I liked it. It was great.
We talked about it. Yeah.
Music was good. Story was good.
Yeah.
I liked it best of the three, I think.
Yeah.
Fun.
Actually, where do you put that with the other two Guardians films? What was?
It was the top for me.
It was the top for me too.
Really?
I like it.
One was good, but
I still like one the best. I think it was just a nice introduction to characters. It felt
definitely
fresh
was.
And it felt new.
It definitely was. But after you know those characters, I thought 3 really brought them all out. So it's 3, 1, 2. 2 was probably my least favorite. I have that on DVD, but I rarely watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 is just, I think, harping by like, ego, and it has a little bit of a villain problem. It's a little bit of a third act problem. As great as Mantis is, it doesn't have that much going on for it throughout the movie.
And it was also in between all the other Marvel movies, so I'm sure they had to hold back a little bit on story just because of where the
I enjoyed
Marvel
it as a trilogy. I think James Gunn did a good trilogy on that. So. And then Ant-Man 3. Yeah, well, I mean, I think we've talked about Ant-Man 3 enough, but the reality is it didn't work. It's progressively got worse for me because there was no threat level. There was no, Maria
It's the same
Hill
thing as Thor, the new Thor movie. You know, you have a villain who you're told is so evil and does all the evil stuff off screen. You're told about how much you should be scared of him.
That's it.
And you get to the big fight, and it's nothing you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's just another bad guy. And then, especially Ant-Man, when Ant-Man solos Kang, like, and he's just fighting him one-on-one. And this is Kang the Conqueror, man. This is like, this guy could conquer, like,
and he's already been beaten. And he's already been beaten once by Loki, in Loki, and he gets.
Well, that was a
beaten
little
again.
different. That was a little different.
Yeah,
I can accept that defeat.
Yeah,
when you have a full-blown Kang the Conqueror throwing hands with Ant-Man and just kind of not winning that fight, like that is mind-blowing.
Or at least not taking a couple of characters out. Like taking a few characters out seemed like the right. Direction. This phase should be the Empire Strikes Back phase of the Marvel universe. Characters should be getting knocked out left, right, and center.
The villains should be winning.
It doesn't mean that you can't see them in a parallel universe and have them come back again as the actor, but it means that you should be knocking out your key characters.
Well, I mean, even small things like Ant-Man should have been left in the microverse.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I agreed. Yeah,
it's small things where it's like. They have a movie called Kang Dynasty, but how is Kang a threat if he was beaten by a single Avenger who was not even one of the strongest Avengers?
Yes, yeah.
And it's like the only big bad that I think people are clamoring for right now is Doom, just because people want a character who they know is going to be not only just crazy badass and just insane, but also a good character piece. Because right now, Kang, they didn't do much with his character. They want a villain kind of like Thanos, where they gave people something to cling on to with his personality.
Now, the rumors came up before that they were going to introduce someone like Doom in one of the other shows and stuff. Do we think we're
And
going to see?
Black Panther was the rumor.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, do we think we're going to see a character like that pop up
Fantastic
before
Four.
Fantastic Four it
I
actually
think so.
drops?
Yes,
Before?
You still think so?
I think Doom will be introduced before Fantastic Four. I really
Okay.
do.
Right.
I think he's kind of like like the same way they introduced Kingpin, because he's you have to in Hawkeye, because he works because he's such a big character, and once you see him, like, oh, that's a threat.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Doom will be the same way, but in a different way. I think he'll be more of a not unseen threat, but a threat that doesn't exactly interact with the main heroes and the main ongoings. I think he'll be kind of a shadow player that we see through a post-credit scene or something like that. But he's just such an important character too, especially to the idea of what they're doing with. I'm guessing it's going to be the adaptation of Hickman's Secret Wars,
right?
Which is all about Doom. So yeah, I think he's got to be important in the next few years.
Maybe as early as Secret Invasion, or probably not.
I mean, we're in Secret Invasion right now, so
that's what I mean.
Like,
do you think we might? Do you think we
end with a
see that?
cliffhanger, like Doom at the very end of the movie, at very end of the.
I think we could get a Latveria reference. I think they could totally reference the country of Latveria. But I don't know if they'll reference Doom. I did just watch Doctor Strange again, the new one, and I realized when he meets Reed Richards, he says, "Didn't you guys chart in the '60s?"
Right.
Which many people took as a joke about their name sounding like a '60s rock group, or the name. But it kind of caught me as, well, what if there is that theory that they went back in time, and the Fantastic Four are lost in time?
Right.
I think, what if they are lost in time and Doom isn't, and Doom is just kind of biding his time in Latveria, kind of calculating and planning his efforts.
Yeah. Sucked. I'm going to have to say something about this season of Superman and Lois. Best Superman ever. Best story arc of Superman ever. Best out of any feature film. Best out of any TV series. This season has been so emotionally powerful. 2 weeks ago, I was practically weeping for the villain's wife. That's how good this season has been.
You were what? For the villain's wife?
The villain's wife.
You wanted...
I was practically in tears. I was teary-eyed. It was so well written.
I was like a Nora and Dr. Freeze thing.
No. Yeah, well, actually, you're right. It wasn't a very different style. I've never felt so much empathy for the villain in any comic book movie or show ever. This season has been particularly amazing. So when they actually dropped their version of Lex Luthor this past week, which is played by the actor
Michael Kudetz, right?
Yeah, Michael Kudetz. He played Abraham in The Walking Dead in season 4 or something like that. Red-haired guy. He was really solid. I want to see more of him, but the way they introduced him as, this guy's been in prison for 17 years, and Lois Lane put him in prison. And
that's why he has a beard?
That's why he's got a beard. But
I'm so sick of bearded Lex Luthors.
But this, the only other Lex Luthor, like I've always loved Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor. I love the way he portrayed that character. The only other one apart from that is Lex Luthor from the animated series, who's the businessman. I like that ideal version of Lex Luthor as well. But this is Lex Luthor the thug. This is Lex Luthor, who's the smart thug. He was never he was obviously rich at some point, I'm guessing, or had made money off of what he did, but he's not hyper businessman intelligent or anything like that. But I have to admit, I'm curious to see how this version of Lex Luthor the thug is going to play out, because he is going to be the main key character into season 4. And sadly, they ended up by cutting budget, so there's only 10 episodes of season 4 for Lois and Superman, and they've cut half of the secondary cast members out. So they're only going to be dealing with the key 4 characters of the Superman, Lois, and the 2 kids, from what I can tell, and have
they didn't get rid of one of the kids.
Yeah, but they've also made the villain, the guy playing Lex Luthor, as a main lead into the following season.
Hmm.
So I've got a feeling season 4 is going to be phenomenal because it's going to be really truly a Superman versus Lex Luthor story arc, which is going to be fun to see from this particular cast. This cast have been knocking it out of the water. And granted, it's still CW. You got the occasional little thing that is like, the background relationship stuff and all that, which is like I usually can't give a crap about. But they're nowhere near as upfront like it was in, say, in shows like Smallville or The Flash or any of that. Those shows, you really got this kind of CW vibe to it. This is a lot more dramatic, a lot more impactful story-wise. So yeah, I would advise anybody, if you're up for seeing a solid Superman story. All 3 seasons I've enjoyed. Season 2 was a little weaker than season 1. Season 1 was amazing. Season 2 was good. Season 3, best Superman ever in my opinion. Is really worth watching if you get the chance, for sure. So yeah, that answers that question, I hope.
Yeah. You guys know that Comic-Con is coming up like in 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, you gonna try to go?
I think I'm gonna go. I mean, I got my pass the other day,
Right.
but if I go, I'm only gonna go. I would think I would only go Wednesday night just for preview night.
Gotcha.
Just so I can get in, get out type of thing. Because
Right.
all the other times are busy.
Yeah, but there's hardly
That's
anything there this year. Like all the big companies have pulled out.
Yeah, everyone pulled out, which is why I don't get why tickets go so fast before, because they've been pulling out almost every year almost basically.
That's fine. I don't really care about the bigger companies, the bigger booths.
Oh yeah.
There, like I never go to the Hall H stuff. Like I like walking the floor. I like seeing some of like the prototypes for the new toys coming out. I like walking and seeing the vendors who actually have the old stuff and not just the new vendors.
Yeah.
I think it even gets out of hand with like the exclusive toys and like people got to stand in line 2 days early to get a pop vinyl figure or whatever.
They're making me laugh so hard. You see a line like a mile long. Like, what are they waiting for? Like a Funko. What is it?
Well,
I don't know. They haven't told us yet.
They don't tell us. It's a mystery one. You get there and there's only 300, and you're like, oh, well, it's just not.
Yeah. It's just resellers, I think. I think those are just resellers who wait in that line.
It's gonna be like a
it's the weirder part. Like,
yeah. But I do like going just to walk through, to see the vendors, to like look through older stuff that may be there.
Well, Sideshow are not there this year either.
Sideshow, they don't even have a booth there?
Nope, they're not. They're not doing a booth there this year. Yeah, they officially announced they're going to be doing an online thing at around the same time, but they're not.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It's cheaper. Well,
I think
they can sell more products online.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, the worst thing is like it really, like Sideshow, for example, I go there, like personally, I go there because of Sideshow. Right. I want to see the products face to face.
Yeah.
I made some life or death
choices
one of the bigger, about what I purchased from them.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons I would go, just to see what's coming up and see their figures,
Yeah, no, totally. But unfortunately, they're not doing anything live this year. I think also the cost as well must be.
Wait a minute, they're not doing anything live, or they're not having.
They're not doing anything physically in the.
The cost is insane. You're right. That's why I'm not going like this year. It's just I'm going to WonderCon in Connecticut because I was going home to visit family anyway, and I was like, I want to go home that weekend. Tickets are $40 for a day rather than San Diego's like $200 tickets.
Right. Yeah.
You guys were never able to apply for the professional thing, or never saw the window?
I never heard back.
Yeah, never heard back. Yeah.
I think you got lucky. It must be like a crapshoot whether you actually get in or not.
I don't know. I mean, I've been in for a longer time, but still, you guys.
No, we got nothing. No reply, no response, nothing.
But you sent in your thing, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys ever go back online and just check your?
Yeah, I checked. Status? I never heard back.
Never heard back. Yeah.
I would say check your status again, because they're going to start opening, requests for next year.
Makes sense.
But go online and just
apply again. I think it should be easier for me now that I have a literal comic book. So hopefully that makes it easier to get a professional pass.
Right.
But there are definitely going to be less. Well, I mean, I imagine there'll be less people going because there's less kind of influences there.
It sells out so fast.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It
I'll
sounds like
probably just
before
go
I
for
can
the
even like
Wednesday night
decide
and
to
then
save up for it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I can't. I've been going forever since for the longest
Yeah.
time. It's like '93 or something like that.
Right.
It's changed so much. So like preview night is the only night like I kind of like because
Yeah.
it's not full and it's like you
Right.
can get through it's not open the full time. It's it's kind of like the best of both worlds for me just to get there and get out of
Yeah.
there. So.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, and then one other
Anyway.
thing. Did you guys see the Stan document or the Stan Lee documentary
Oh, I
on
haven't.
Disney Plus?
No, I haven't watched it yet. I saw the statements that the Kirby family put out about it. I saw the statement Jack Kirby's son put out about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do know one of the editors on it actually. Weirdly enough,
Really?
Brandon's girlfriend's roommate was one of the editors on
Okay.
it.
All right. That's cool.
Well, I mean, it was all a lot of old, Stan, it's all of old interviews of him talking, and they animated, and they did like little vignettes on top of him talking. But it's just a bunch of old. It's a bunch of old dialogue from him talking over the years, but it was done well. I liked how they put it together.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And I know he never, adding credit for the other creators and artists and stuff that's always been part of Stan Lee or whatever. So it's like kind of to be expected, but I did like how they put it together at least.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I did finish watching Gremlins,
okay.
Secrets of the Mogwai.
I heard it's good.
It was good. I mean, it was darker than I expected, and visually there are things in there that I did not expect. Someone gets stomped on by a giant gremlin, and they just get crushed under the feet, and it's like in a very like whoa kind of way. It surprised me. There are other things, and I'm not going to go into too much more because there are some graphic elements, and they simplify the animation over the graphic element.
Right.
But the idea of what they do really shows the true viciousness of what the gremlins should be.
Yeah.
And they nail it, and it definitely shows this Joe Dante style of very, very dark humor throughout it. It was a solid story. I enjoyed it. Was it better than Spider-Verse or anything like that? No, but was it entertaining enough that I enjoy the franchise and I would continue watching a Gremlins animated show in the future? Yeah, definitely. They kind of wrapped up season 1. They made a beginning, they made an end. To see how it goes, obviously. So if it doesn't do well enough or get enough watches, then that'll be it. If it does, then they can do a completely different story.
Nice.
But I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was worth the watch for sure.
Nice.
It's definitely worth watching. Anyway, guys, unless there's anything else, I think we might call it a day. As I said, it was kind of a quiet news day. Next week we will be reacting to Secret Invasion episode 2. I'm sure we'll talk about that the following week. We will definitely be talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny next weekend. And I don't know, is there anything else that's coming up this week? Probably not. It's kind of quiet otherwise. But if any other news comes up, quiet week, we'll pick up. We'll talk about other things. And everybody out there, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. For those in the chat, thank you once again for joining us today and hearing us talk. And I guess we'll catch you all later. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you all later.